Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Welcome from sunny Canberra. We hope you've had a great time at the online conference so far. My name's Ian.
I'm Tim.
We're from Amherst School here in the ACT, and we're really looking forward to sharing a bit of our journey with you today and hopefully giving you some great tips for student engagement and pastoral care in your school.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, I'll share the screen and we'll get cracking.
So just a little bit about Ian's role. So Ian is our executive of IT. He's also leading our innovation and research, and he's also redesigning our library and making it a more technological space and giving students more access to online material whilst still keeping the major aspects of everything that we've tried to keep there with our books and our research centres.
Thanks, Tim. And just to introduce Tim, Tim's our student engagement officer. So I suppose he works with a range of a big team here at the school, so youth workers, the school counsellor, and his primary focus is keeping our students engaged, because we know from the research that engaged students do better in all their educational realms. And Tim does a great job working with a really big clientele and doing some fantastic program work and organising our school counsellors and all sorts of stuff.
Awesome.
Okay, so just to give you a bit of a background about where we're coming from. So Amherst School is the biggest public school in the ACT, and we've had a directorate, so by that I mean, I suppose, state-supported GAFE, Google Apps for Education program, since 2015, which has been great. We've also been lucky enough to be doing some fantastic work with Google throughout that, and we have a really cool student tech team who you're going to hear a bit more about in a minute.
Absolutely.
I'd say, Tim, you probably agree, the student tech team do most of my work.
Absolutely. Without the Aztec team, we would be absolutely a little bit further behind than where we currently are with our tech advancements. So
yes.
Big key players there.
We could talk about student ownership, we could talk about student empowerment, but the reality is they're a fantastic group of kids who do a range of technology stuff across our school.
Absolutely. So we have a diverse range of clientele. Our needs differ quite substantively. We also have a very different socioeconomic background in our context here. So we cater to all needs. Limited resources in terms of bullying, as always, is in our sight. So trying to manage that as we are ever growing with our social, our online media social presence, and trying to curb that and educate and empower students to make positive decisions with their choice of what they're posting. So that's probably a large component of my job, is helping students make more positive choices with their social media, and then being there if they have been through a traumatic experience with their online behaviours.
Yeah, that's right. And how many kids would you say we've got at Amherst? So how many, in your student engagement role, how many kids are you looking after roughly, Tim?
So with my scope of what I look after from years 6 through to 10, we have approximately 1,000 students, and my team, I manage five staff. So I have 2 defence transition mentors, because we do have quite a high population of defence families in our school. I have 2 youth workers, one who primarily runs a Duke of Edinburgh program through the school, which really targets those disengaged students and brings them back into the school setting, which is absolutely fantastic. And I also have one psychologist that looks after years 6 through to 10. So it is quite busy, and one of the biggest things that we've had to manage is the triaging of incidents, and obviously that day-to-day stuff that pops in as well. So it is quite busy. It's a very busy space. So through using the Google programs and getting through to that GAFE and the G Suite, it's been able to make my team more efficient and meet the needs of the students in a more time-efficient manner. So it's been fantastic.
What do you mean by triage? When you say triage, I think of the hospital context. What do you mean by triage in a school in your office? What do you mean?
Absolutely, and you've kind of nailed it there. It's very much the same. So it's usually due to the level of behavioural incident or the level of social and emotional incident that takes precedent during that day. Right. So it is busy. With 1,000 students, there are going to be quite a few problems that we need to deal with every day, and just having that triage process, sticking to it, it's made me have a bit more sleep at night. So
yeah, great, fantastic. Which is always good.
Is important.
So we've talked about so student engagement, pastoral care, behaviour. These are things that aren't traditionally linked with technology in a school. We were a school that were doing a lot with technology, and we realised fairly quickly it was something we wanted to do more in this space. And one of the reasons for that, I'm going to share a story. One of our student tech team actually came and shared with me. So this young lady was someone who does fantastic work with the student tech team, but she came and shared with me and said that she was missing out on a program that would have been great for her and her mental health purely because she didn't know the program existed. And that for me was a real wake-up call. And I thought, well, we're doing all this great stuff with the G Suite. We're doing some great stuff with Classroom and Drive and all these amazing things. But this student who knows so much wasn't able to access a basic service for their own mental health. And that was significantly affecting her engagement. And this, I suppose, came down to that second point there, that one of our primary problems is always been scale. So how do we meet, a range of students? And we all know what it's like to be teenagers, and things can change every day, if not most days. And how do we meet that diverse range of needs in a school context, and how can technology support that? Now, one of the things we hear a lot about is things like cyberbullying, and I know when we've used more technology in the school, it's one of the questions I field from parents the most is, but how is this going to influence cyberbullying? And there is nothing better than our student engagement Google site to sort of combat that question, because students are connected with the technology, but they're also connected with the technology in terms of their own welfare, their own engagement, and their own response to what it means to them as a young person. So it's really exciting to be able to use technology, and it's really changed. It's beginning to change the culture around safe and supportive schools. We at Amaru, we're big on our two things are excellence and inclusion. And how can we include every single student who needs the support, whatever's going on in their lives?
Absolutely. I think Ian, you've really pushed the point there about scale, and being new in the role when I first took it on at the start of this year. That was my primary concern of how do I know that I am meeting the needs of as many students as I possibly can within the school context of that 9 till 3. Then what we did with the student engagement site, we opened up the hours longer. Yeah. So students didn't just have to seek help between 9 and 3. They were able to therefore move into asking questions from home, asking to speak for help. We'll get to that a little bit later when we unpack the site. But yeah, scalability and the sheer amount of population that we have in that senior sector of the school was one of the biggest concerns. However, we have used Google technology to combat that, and it's been a pretty exciting journey.
Yeah, it's been great. And so when I say we, I mean our students developed a Google site. It's kind of like a landing page for student support. So if you're struggling with something to do with your classes, your home life, any sort of bullying issue, something that relates to you personally as a young person, you can go to this student engagement site. And one of the things we really tried to focus on is not just that it be a program site, but it also be an opportunity for students to find things for them. It empowers them. It's not just us walking around in the school, and we've all done it, trying to find the kids for the program that started.
Oh, absolutely. It's been one of those key moments, I think, within my short career so far, that I think, wow, I've actually made a big difference to a large proportion of kids. And we always get that penny drop moment in a classroom when you finally teach a kid how to do algebra or something like that. But with this context and the way that the students have built this website to help other students, I think that says a lot about the culture here at Amaru, and we've been able to foster that. And it hasn't been easy, but we're starting to get there.
Yeah. We've kind of got a stripped down version. The reason we've stripped some stuff off, like the current events and stuff, is obviously being mindful this is broadcasting out. So this is kind of like you're seeing, I suppose, the shell version.
Absolutely.
Normally this is normally a lot more populated. It's the end of the year too. So it means that a lot of our programs aren't on. But basically it's the landing point you come to, whether you're a staff member, whether you're a student, or, to be honest, we're going to build in a community component.
Absolutely. A big part of that, Ian, and sometimes a lot of our students are going through some pretty big issues at home, whether it's mum and dad getting a separation or a loved one has passed away. And often as a classroom teacher, they don't get that information that has actually occurred. And obviously with that going on at home, a student isn't going to be able to focus to their full potential. So, but having this option on the site where parents can email into a secure location and say, my son or daughter, we're currently experiencing this. Yeah. Would you be able to check in with them and let their core teachers know so they can provide that extra support to the students?
Yeah.
It's just a really nice feeling to know that if my son or daughter was here at school and I'm going through something at home, I know they're getting the support they need at school, and it's not going to have that negative impact on their learning where they're going to put their barriers up and not be susceptible to all the quality learning practices that are going on within the school environment. So,
and there's a couple of things I love about the site too is you've got the student resources page, which is where they can go if they want particular information, particular resources. We have resources up there with things like Mind Matters, Beyond Blue. We've recently had some stuff about Movember, so men's health and men's mental health. Fortunately for you all, Tim and I got to shave ours a couple of days ago.
Absolutely. Partners were very impressed.
Oh, if you guys had seen it, we might not have been able to present. But that's really important. And one of the things that's also important is the staff resources, because there's a lot of teachers out there, regardless of where they're at in their career, who aren't necessarily comfortable with dealing with the student engagement suite innately. So we try and give the staff some resources too as well.
Absolutely.
Which is really important. So if I click on a student resource, then I should be able to just bring you guys up to this is a Google form we use. Now, again, basically we get the student's name, their homeroom, their email, and who they'd like to see. So this is a range of our staff here at the school, depending on the issue or the context, and outline what you might need help with. It's really important to note at this point that the site and the service is not to replace human beings.
Absolutely not. And that's probably one of the biggest part of the job, and it's something that I thoroughly enjoy, is that communication with students and the rich discussion that you get to have about topical issues and some of the things that actually you remember when you were at high school, and you can remember someone similar going through something. And I think that's a big, important part of being able to relate to the students and let them know that we went through some of these issues as well. So we do have that past experience that we can help with that. However, one of my favorite things about the Google Classroom, everything in the Google environment, is it gives that student who would not normally be confident to raise their hand, ask a question in front of a group of 30 kids about an assessment that they think this might be a bit of a stupid question. I'm not going to ask it. However, I do need that clarification to continue with the learning. They can simply just add a comment to the teacher. They can send a direct email through their device. And I really think that has changed the way that we engage students within the classroom context, and also within the student engagement and that social and emotional context. So,
and the kids who often really need the help, let's be honest here, are the kids who may not necessarily be comfortable with going and finding the person they need to see. They may not have that energy, that space, or that willingness to do that. So this is just one extra way we're trying to meet the needs of our school community, and we found it really successful. Like I said, we did some research to start with, listening to Hattie this morning, which was great. We're big on that here too, and a couple of research pieces. There was a great piece by Boyd, and they talk about how teens finding ways to connect with each other socially and culturally, and how we kind of tapped into that. And I suppose it was a way of us saying, well, they're using this, these tools anyway. Why don't we use the vehicle that's already there?
Absolutely.
And there was some other research. There was one of Keith and Martin talking about respect in cyberspace, and the level of respect that's shown throughout the site is really important too. So which is really important to us as well.
Absolutely. And we've got to be realistic too. Let's be honest, kids are going to be kids.
Yeah.
Let's give them the tools that they can use to self-manage their own behaviour.
Yeah.
And also make more informed decisions about what they're doing, but then be there, the support to help them through that learning journey.
Yeah.
And I think the ease of access has really brought that forward in terms of how we do that here at Amaroo.
The students drove the launch, so they've really pushed it, which has helped too.
With their buy-in, it's been a lot easier.
Like I said, the Aztecs do most of my work, so which is great. But they've really they sort of support each other with it. And one of the questions that's just come up, I can see, is how confidential and secure is the student engagement site? Could it be a prompt for bullying if a pupil gives sensitive information? Really important to understand that the Google form itself only goes to the relevant teacher and professional. So the students themselves don't see those forms at any point.
Absolutely not.
They've helped us build it.
Yeah, they build it.
But they don't have access to it.
They have no access.
Okay? So the access is purely for us. I hope that helps.
Just to add on that, every tab at the top of the student engagement website needs a different level of clearance to get into it.
Yeah.
So some of it is only for deputies, executives. Some is just for general teaching staff. They can access the information. However, for the pointy end information, we don't store it directly on that site. We use it to gather the data, and then we export that back to a secure drive where in which we then triage through that there. So it doesn't spend a lot of time.
That's a great point, Tim.
Absolutely. Just to add security, because that is a very valid concern, and that was something we did get a lot of feedback from the community from.
Yeah.
And we do have quite a large community here. I mean, 1,800 kids, P to 10. We do have a big buy-in. So that was something that we did have to have at the forefront of our thinking from the get-go. So
absolutely. And someone's just asked if they can see a version of the site if you're outside. We've just shown it to you. Because of the security, obviously there's a security context here, like we just talked about. So you do need an EDU site, an EDU like our login, an ACT login to be able to view it and interact with it. But let me make the point that it's a basic Google site.
Absolutely.
You can create a version of this really easily using Google Sites, and it's certainly nothing special in terms of Google
absolutely.
Sites.
And especially with the new Google Sites as well.
How good is it?
The ease of access and the ability for someone like myself to be able to build a website in under an hour and have it fully functioning. Jump on board, give it a try. We're more than happy for people to hit us on Twitter, and we will, if you want to get in contact, and we can have some phone discussions about that. And we're more than happy to help facilitate other schools that are looking to try and jump into this context.
Or perhaps probably give you, the students to help you.
Great point.
Great point. We're just gonna keep rolling. So the reason why we did it, we've talked about this a bit, but the students were already so comfortable with this technology. Our school uses the Google Suite. So it's such a key part of our practice that it made sense for us to use the vehicle. Why invent something that's already working so well?
And you touched on it before. The kids are comfortable with this technology now. We've been a BYO school for a little while. And why bring in a new technology? Let's use something that the kids are familiar with. And let's face it, when things aren't going right in our lives, we tend to go back to our basic habits that we know have worked in the past. So we thought, why not? Let's just keep it going. And it's such a great product and ease of access for our kids to use it. And it also helps me sleep at night knowing that I'm still helping kids throughout the night if they're having trouble, because they know that once they hit submit on that form, the next day someone from my team will make contact with them to let them know, we've got your request, we are in the process. And almost it's if like they get a number in the queue of when they're going to be seen that day. So, which is great. And the research shows us something. Hattie was talking this morning, like committed teachers are what makes the difference. And a teacher caring about you and where you're at on your own student engagement, pastoral care journey is just such a useful tool, not just for us as educators, but for us as human beings. It really helps us, doesn't it? Just as people working with young people to make sure we're not just seeing them those 6 hours a day. If they need help in the other 18, we can try and get there. Well, and it's about that culture, that last point. Absolutely. And it was just kind of building on from what the classroom already offers. So when kids are working on their assessment, whether it's late at night because it's the night before and they need to get it done, they do have that ability to email the teacher. And if they're an early riser and checking emails before work, like all our passionate, dedicated teachers are, we do have that opportunity to answer it straight away. Which is great. And that's great. It just makes it easy. We're going through some changes in our school next year, which is fantastic, just some structural stuff. And this is really helpful because it's a consistent and it's a continual. So the students and our community know that the student engagement site is going to continue to be there. Absolutely. There's those kind of consistencies that really help us. And our leadership has been fantastic in supporting us with this too. 100% backing from all key. I think it's worth making that point that even though we're doing a lot of work on the ground with our students, our leadership have really enabled us and empowered us to make sure that we can get the students the help they need. And that's been really important. And they've definitely given us the professional courage to try. Absolutely. Because it's one of those things that's always going to be there. Kids are always going to have those issues that pop up. How can we make it easier on teachers? How can we make it easier on the students? How can we make it easier on the parents as well to let them know that, yes, we are doing everything we possibly can to help out and help help get that kid through that tough time.
Absolutely. It's student driven, so the kids are going to continue to involve the site, even the layout and the look of the site. They keep telling us how much better they want to make it look, which is fine. And that it's what we're finding. One of the anecdotal things is that every time that the longer this site goes, the more trust we're building with the student community. So they see continually, they have this website that operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's really helping us continue to build that currency with students, because as you guys know, there's nothing more important in the classroom than currency.
Oh,
if you've got currency with the kids, then they will come to you, they will work for you, and they'll learn with you. And I think this site has really helped us build that currency.
Absolutely. And I just want to touch into one of the questions we've just jumped through, and absolutely about should kids be able to access teachers 24/7. In what I was saying before, it's not that teachers will answer it outside of the business hours. It's just simply the platform that kids can put that through. And because of the processes that we have in place and our policies here, the kids get that notification the next day when a teacher, youth worker, whether it's a defense transmission mentor, drops in, checks in with that kid. They know that when they sent that through last night, that first thing the next morning, we have opened that and we have triaged that, and that they get that feedback that, oh wow, the school is actually really caring. And I think it's
actually helped our work-life balance, because
absolutely,
it's because of that triage and that streamlining it. No, you're not putting out fires.
No, you're not walking around with a fire extinguisher.
So you're able to get the information. You're able to look at the information and make the decision, which I actually think's helped our workload. Is that fair?
Absolutely. I have less grey hair than when I started, which is great.
I've got more, but that's fine.
And I think it really helps build that culture. With this, scale 1,800 students. How do we get that culture consistent from P to 10 that we care? And I think that's a really big thing for students to belong and care about their school and their community. And obviously that's very evident here at Amaroo. So I think this is underpinning some of that culture stuff, that it's always there, it's consistent, and it's only continually going to get better. As Anne says, the more kids that we get coming through into the Aztecs, the better the program's going to get, and the higher the work's going to be. So
that's great. And we're continuing to look for ways to get technology into pastoral care and student support. One of the things, a project we've just been working on, we've been walking around our school with 360-degree video cameras capturing a tour of the school. And people were like, well, why do people, why are you doing a virtual tour of the school? Well, it's cool and it exposes the kids to new technology, but perhaps more importantly, we're able to share that. We've got a few students as they're transitioning into the school. They might be nervous. They might be uncomfortable with coming to a new big school. They'll be able to log on and see a virtual tour of our school. It's on YouTube. We've got some tests up there at the moment. And that might sound like a small thing, but for a new student at a big school, being able to feel like they've had a walkthrough even before they have can be really helpful. The last thing I wanted to talk about was we're thinking of using Google Plus as an ongoing connection. Tim and I have worked with a group of lads this year, fantastic group who
absolutely fantastic,
awesome group of 9 and 10 gentlemen, shall we say, young men.
Perfectly put.
And we're looking for ways to connect with them as they leave the school, because they leave our school at the end of this year. So they've got their formal next week, and then they move on to a different campus for year 11 and 12. How can we continue to support them in the program that we've done? And we've talked about an alumni program using Google Plus. So maybe we can use Google Plus as a way to continue to connect with those guys and that young men's group called the Avengers.
Absolutely.
We want to try and continue to connect with that group once they leave. Obviously, our role in their lives is going to completely change because they're going to a different school and their lives are changing. But we feel like maybe Google Plus, that's one of our new things we're going to try, could be a way to sort of an alumni program with our students. So we're going to see how that goes. Now we've got some time for a few questions. We've had some great ones we talked about already. I can see one there. It says how this works for secondary school. How does this work for P to 6 as effectively? We haven't tried that yet. But it's a great question. We are a P to 10 school, so we're always looking for ways to be a vertical school as well as a horizontal one. So absolutely. I'm going to write that down.
We'll put that to the boss.
I'm going to see how could we adapt this to a P to 6 environment.
And they have some of the executive from down our primary end of the school have been monitoring the work that has been going on within the student engagement hub and the way that we've redesigned it. And I suppose it's a lot of schools are using Google purely for the educational components, and we wanted to try as you could probably tell from our talk today, we're a little bit outside the box and a bit of blue sky thinking. So we wanted to try and use the technology in a way that sort of hasn't been used yet. And we've had some great success, and it's working well in the senior school. So
I think some of the concerns, not concerns, but considerations for the primary thing would be the privacy.
Absolutely.
I think you'd probably want to do it, and this is me thinking here, but I think you'd probably want to do it with parents.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think what you do is get parents to be the ones who submit the request for assistance.
Yeah.
And that might be a way to sort of roll it out in the junior end of the school.
So I think that's a great point, and we'll really take that feedback on board, and we can potentially put that to something in our annual action plan and our strategic plan for the next couple of years, because as I said, we are getting some success and it is working well. However, great point, we are only targeting our senior end of the school. And I suppose most of the issues that we get from that senior end of the school, the degree of how...
We've just turned the screen share off. We had a request for that.
Okay.
That may have been a mistake, but yeah, we'll just turn screen share off. So I hope that's okay for Q&A.
Yeah, so back to just what I was quickly touching on, Ian, is the incidents that we get in our senior end of the school, more often than not, they're a little bit of that higher level towards the pointy end of things. So we thought we would target that first and really try and get that into a workable model through using technology that kids are comfortable with. And I think we're starting to get there. So thanks for that. It's great input.
I've just had someone ask about, could we automate based on particular keywords? That is an awesome idea. So the context is, if students make a submission, perhaps a particular flag words that come up, and I'm going to write that down for my Aztecs.
Yeah.
Keyword flagging. Thank you very much. That's a great idea.
That will help the triage process.
Have
we ever come up with that?
Yeah.
That'd be wild.
I might talk to the guys about that. It looks great.
Some more work for the Aztecs.
Yeah, and they love it. They love it. We've probably got time for maybe one or two more questions. Is there anybody else who'd like to ask a question? We're just scrolling through, making sure that we haven't missed any of your wonderful questions.
Just to reiterate, guys, if you do want some more info, please hit us up on Twitter and also get contact. We'll exchange obviously phone numbers and things. If you do want to come down for a visit down to Canberra, it's a great place.
Isn't it?
Most livable city, I reckon, personally.
Heard that. Didn't it win an award? That's fine.
I think it won most livable city in the world.
I think it might have, mate. Yeah.
ACT Public Education. So
it's fantastic.
Get on board. If you want to come in for a visit, we're more than happy to accommodate and show you guys the work that we've been doing. So
wonderful. Look, I think that's about all we've got time for, guys. I'm just checking sure. We've had one question say, is that a face for radio? We can confirm our faces are for radio. So
that's why we had the shared screen on for 95% of this.
There's a reason for that. Please hit us up on Twitter. We'd love to get any extra thoughts you've got, any extra comments.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your engagement this afternoon.
Absolutely, it's been
we
great.
Really appreciated it, and we really hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. There's some great sessions coming up, and please remember that you can also see the recordings of these sessions later if you want to check those out.
Absolutely, and feel free to keep the questions coming in, and we'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can.
Thanks so much, guys.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Cheers.